Good day, everyone. Today we'll be presenting the topic Gender Relations During Neoliberalism. This topic is very relevant, especially today when we see global movements advocating for gender equality, but at the same time, we also see how capitalist systems absorb and reshape those movements to serve economic interests. This presentation will help us understand how neoliberal economic reforms have directly impacted gender dynamics, especially in terms of labor conditions and how gender is marketed in modern women and labor. Under this is more women entered the labor force during neoliberal reforms. It is also were pushed into low wage, insecure, and informal jobs. Gender roles in the workplace remained largely unequal. Women and labor under neoliberalism. One of the most visible effects of neoliberalism is the rise in female labor force participation. Mas maraming babae ang nagsimulang magtrabaho, which at first glance looks like progress. After all, economic independence is often seen as a sign of women's empowerment. But when we look closer, we see that many of these jobs are concentrated in very specific areas like factory work, domestic services, garment industries, and call centers. These are often underpaid, unstable, and offer very little protections or benefits. In short, neoliberalism didn't just welcome women into workplace or workforce. It is placed it placed them in role that serves the needs of global markets often without improving their quality of life. So yes, more women are working, but the question is under what conditions? And are they really being empowered or simply being used as cheap labor? Next one is precarious work and the double burden. Women are overrepresented in part time, gig, and contract work. They are also still expected to manage household chores and childcare. Also, cuts in public services increase the burden on women at home. So, neoliberalism also promoted labor flexibility, meaning companies prefer workers who are temporary, part-time, or freelance because this allows them to cut costs, avoid giving benefits, and shift risk to the workers themselves. Unfortunately, women are the most affected by this. Many women take this kind of jobs because they are juggling multiple responsibilities at home, like taking care of children or elderly family members. This leads to what we call the double burden. Women are expected to perform well at their jobs and take care of the household. And since the state has reduced support systems like affordable daycare, healthcare, or food subsidies, all that unpaid caregiving work now falls on the shoulders of women. So while neoliberalism presents these flexible jobs as opportunities, in reality, it's women who absorb the social costs. Gender inequality in the workplace. Women still earn less than men on average, and this is called wage gap. Few women hold leadership or decision making roles. The system blames individuals, not structural inequality. So dito naman po, in theory, neoliberalism tells us that everyone has the same chance to succeed. If you work hard enough, you'll get to the top. But in practice, gender inequality still exists. women still earn less than men. Even when doing the same job, they are less likely to be promoted to leadership roles, and they are often excluded from male dominated industries. Neoliberalism ignores these barriers and promotes a myth of meritocracy. It tells women, if you're not successful, it's your fault. But that's not true. Systematic discrimination, lack of support, and cultural expectations all play a role.
The gender relation in migration during neoliberalism, the women are instructed as breadwinners and men sometimes left as primary caregivers. And also, migration has a dual effect, and it can challenge traditional gender roles by empowering women and changing family dynamics, but it can also reproduce or worsen inequalities, especially through exploitation, stereotyping, and unequal labor opportunities. Women migrants contribute greatly to their families and host country, but their work is undervalued, leaving them vulnerable to unfair treatment, economic exploitation, and gender-based inequalities. In family dynamic naman po, the national families emerge, and yung mode na lang po ng communication nila ay through letters and digital media na lang po. And the emotional labor of maintaining family ties from afar. And also, meron din silang mga mahal sa buhay na naiiwan. For example, yung mga anak nila na nag-face agad ng maagang responsibilities na naiwan ng magulang nila sa kanila. Sa case naman po sa Philippines, ay yung Philippines po ang may top exporters of labor worldwide, and women dominate migration in domestic and care sector, or yung mga yaya, nurses, and kung ano-ano trabaho sa ibang bansa. Ang impacts po nito sa family nila, mostly sa mga anak na napapalayo yung loob nila sa parents nila na nasa abroad kasi matagal nilang hindi nakasama. And also, yung mga lolo or lola na lang din nila yung nag-aalaga sa kanila dahil wala yung magulang nila. Meron naman din pong mga woman na nakaka-feel ng nafe-feel nila na independent na sila or mas na-empower sila, pero mostly mas maraming nakakaramdam ng guilt or guilt na naiwan nila yung family nila, or nalulungkot sila dahil nga naiwan nila yung family nila. Ang positive impacts naman po na pagmamigrate sa ibang bansa ay mas malaki po yung kita, and masisecure na po nila yung everyday lifestyle nila. And also, mas nakaka-feel po sila ng empowerment bilang breadwinner na pamilya. And lastly po, mas napapatunayan nila na hindi lang lalaki ang makakagawa ng mga ganong bagay. Of course, meron din po tayong negative impact, which is yung family na nasa-separate sa family nila. Syempre, nakakaramdam sila ng lungkot dahil nga malayo sila sa isa't isa. Meron ding mga mag-asawa na naghihiwalay, and also yung mga anak nila na nakakaranas agad ng maagang responsibilidad sa buhay. Meron din po tayong mga OFW na mga kababaihan na nakakaranas ng uh, abuse sa kanilang mga amo. At inequality ang neoliberal migration dahil mas nagbe-benefit yung mga rich countries while exploiting cheap labor from poorer ones po. And of course, nararanasan nila yung doubling burden dahil sa mga expectation ng family nila.
So good morning po ma'am. I am Landelbert Carganza po, and I am going to discuss the masculinities and gender relationship during neoliberalism. So sa ilalim po ng neoliberalism, nagbago po yung tradisyonal na papel ng mga lalaki mula sa pagtataguyod tungo sa emosyonal na pag-iisa at kawalang katiyakan. Dahil dito lumagana po ang toxic masculinity, pero hindi po nawawala yung pag-asa. Ang mga garanting ama at cultural Filipino, lalo na ang pagkalinga at nagpapakita ng mas makatao at maalagang anyo ng pagkalalaki. Batay po sa ano po, sa empathy, damdamin at responsibilidad na hindi po nakokontrol. So next naman po is economic insecurity. So neoliberal structuring led to losses in male-dominated sector, traditional breadwinner roles destabilized, and emotional impact, shame, disorientation, and identity loss. So ang neoliberal na pagbabago sa ekonomiya ay nagdudulot po ng malawakang pagkawala ng trabaho sa mga industriyang karaniwang pinangungunahan po ng mga lalaki katulad ko po. Dahil dito nabuwag ang tradisyonal na role ng mga lalaki bilang pangunahing tagapagtaguyod ng pamilya. Kasama ng kawalang katiyakan sa kita, lumitaw din po ang emotional na epekto tulad ng hiya, pagkalito at pagkawala po ng identity ng mga lalaki. So sa pangatlo naman po is rise of toxic masculinity. So dahil po sa crisis at takot sa pagbabago, lumaganap po ang toxic masculinity. Sobrang galit po yung mga lalaki sa gender equality. And sa online naman po is mas tumitindi ito sa monosphere kung saan po binabatikos po ng mga kalalakihan yung mga feminist activism. So, next naman po is mental health and defining strength. So, high rates of depression, suicide, and isolation among men. Yung new masculinity model promote vulnerability, empathy, and care. Strength defined as the ability to nurture, connect, and heal. So, maraming lalaki ang ano po, ang tahimik na nahihirapan sa mental health nila. And pero ang tunay na na lakas ay hindi po sa pagiging matigas, kundi sa kakayahang magpakita ng damdamin, mag-alaga at magmahal po. So next naman po is labor migration and fatherhood. So ang mga OFW na ay nawawalan po sila ng physical na presensya at authority po. Pero natututo sila ng bagong paraan ng pagiging magulang po batay sa paggalinga at connection. For example po is yung online chat at yung video call po. So next naman po is civic reflection. So sa ilalim po ng neoliberalism, nagbabago hindi lang ang papel po ng mga lalaki kundi pati ang moral na emotional na pananaw sa pagpapalaki po, pagkalalaki, I mean. Pero sa halip na maging dominante, may pagkakataon silang muling hubugin ng gamit yung Filipino values tulad ng pagkalinga at pakikipagkapwa. Dito po, ang tunay na lalaki ay mahalaga, may malasakit at responsibilidad. May responsibilidad sa kapwa. Yan lang po. Thank you.
So, yung ire-report ko po ngayon is yung gender relations po under intersectionality po in neoliberalism po. So, according po kay Kimberly Crenshaw, 1989, so yung intersectionality po is it examines how combined identities create unique discrimination and privilege. And identities are interconnected and cannot be examined in isolation from one another. Pag sinabi pong identities, ito po yung mga gender, yung race, yung class, orientation, at saka disability. So, yung mga identities na po to, no, na-acknowledge po ito individually, and yung mga identities po nito, identities na ito is nakaka-experience po sila ng multiple forms of oppression simultaneously. So, ulitin ko lang po, yung intersectionality po, in simple words, is a form po of discrimination such as those centered on race, gender, class, disability, sexuality, and other forms po ng identity. And hindi po sila nag-work independently pero they interact to produce a particularized form ng social oppression. So yung mga cons po ng intersectionality po is unang-una po dito is yung economic exploitation. So nagkakaroon po dito ng precarious labor conditions. Ito po ay often nangyayari po sa mga kababaihan. So yung mga women po no, they're being pushed to low wage or informal or di kaya mga unprotected jobs such as yung domestic work or di kaya sex work. So Um, ang example po dito 'no, sa Pilipinas is yung mga, OFWs po. So, sa Pilipinas po 'no, um, so yung Pilipinas po 'no, ay isa sa mga, major, labor exporting countries. So, maraming kababaihan po or mostly mga kababaihan po yung mga pinapadala sa abroad, bilang domestic workers or di kaya caregivers, or di kaya, entertainers. Yung mga, OFWs po 'no, nakakaranas po sila ng mga challenges, ah, in relates po sa kanilang gender or nationality, pati na rin po sa kanilang, trabaho. So yun nga po, nasa-subject po sila sa exploitation, abuse, at saka, discrimination sa kanilang mga employers. And yung mga issues po na 'to 'no, nagkakaroon po ito ng, minimal access po 'no for, legal protection or di kaya, social support. Next naman po is yung access to resources. So, yung access to resources po 'no, nagle-lead po ito siya sa privatization po ng services. 'Pag sinabi po nating, privatization po ng services po, yung mga public services po 'no, kagaya na lamang sa healthcare or di kaya sa social welfare po, nata-transfer po ito into, private, service. So, yung challenges po na 'to 'no, can affect po sa mga kababaihan na may low income backgrounds, which, yun nga po kapag may, low income backgrounds, hindi mo ma-afford yung, kailangan mo na service. And, mas challenging din po ito sa mga women with disabilities po. So, next po na gender relation under intersectionality po is yung political participation. So, yung mga women po, they often face gender discrimination po. Kagaya na lang po ng mga situations na yung babae daw po, they often use emotions in decision making, which nagkakaroon po ito ng negative impact din po sa isang babae kasi natatabunan po nito yung mga capabilities po nila to lead. And yung mga issues din po na to is yun yung dahilan kung bakit yung ibang babae din po, they remain underrepresented po sa ibang lugar. And next po is yung violence. So, any form ng violence po, no, whether physical, mental, or sexual violence po, is a pervasive issues po na nawawaken po nito yung social safety and yung support system para sa mga kababaihan. And yung violence din po, nangyayari po to siya sa iba't ibang identities. Kagaya na lamang po ng sa women with disability po, they are more, so yun po, kagaya po sa mga women with disability po, they are more likely to experience violence and sexual assault po. Kasi po may mga parts po sila na hindi po nila capable gawin. And same din po sa mga migrant women or di kaya yung mga OFWs po natin, they, yung ibang ano po, yung ibang OFWs po, nakakaranas po sila ng violence towards sa kanilang mga amo or di kaya boss. And lastly po, sa gender relations in intersectionality po is yung stereotypes. So, yung neoliberalism po often promotes individualistic values which nare-reinforce po dito yung mga traditional gender roles or di kaya stereotypes. Kagaya na lamang po sa last reporting po natin last week, um, yung mga ideal qualities po daw ng isang babae. So may mga context po doon na masasabi natin na stereotypes kasi alam naman natin as a women po, may mga qualities po tayo na alam natin na kayang-kaya po natin. So, yun nga po, yung isa sa example dito is yung women often viewed as weak and emotional. And sa third world women construct naman po, ang ibig sabihin po niyan, ito po yung mga stereotypes na ginagamit ng mga Western countries which dinidepict nila na kapag sa third world ka daw po or di kaya sa developing countries, probably po oppressed ka or di kaya traditional yung way ng thinking or yung ideals mo. So yung gantong passive-aggressive issues po, no, nai-ignore po nito yung pagiging diverse ng isang bansa or ng isang lugar. And syempre po, natatabunan din or nai-ignore yung mga strengths and qualities po ng isang person.
So, sabi nga po dito, no, if we fail to consider intersectionality, our efforts to promote gender equality might be limited in their impact and could even worsen the situation for some of the most disadvantaged women. This is from Stilania Nidera. She is the resident representative of UNDP in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So yun nga po, sa sinabi niya po dito, no, if hindi nga po natin ang pagtutuunan ng pansin yung intersectionality, um, parang nawawalan din po ng saysay yung ideals po ng gender equality and malilimit po nito yung impact po sa ating society. And yung mga issues nga po na sinabi ko kanina could even worsen po sa mga situations po. Katulad na lang po sa ating mga kababaihan.
So, in conclusion po, no, comprehending gender relations po under neoliberalism po demands examining a number of interrelated aspects po. Kagaya na lamang po ng report po namin such as yung sa labor, yung sa migration po and how naapektuhan yung mga pamilya, yung commodification po ng gender identities po sa masculinities and um, kailangan po nito ng intersectional lens to capture the range of human experience. Since yung neoliberal policies po, no, they frequently make already existing disparities worse, necessitating yung mga feminist responses po that oppose systemic barriers, support economic justice, and advance gender equality in every aspect of life must be considered. And in order to build more inclusive and fair society po, kailangan po natin ng nuanced strategy that recognizes the interactions of these elements.
Hi, I'm John Paul Habala. Today we'll talk about how feminist responds to neoliberalism. Ano ba yun at paano nito naapektuhan ng women's rights, gender equality? Neoliberalism focuses on free markets, regulation, and individualism. Pero feminists criticize it kasi instead of promoting equality, mas lalo nitong napapahirapan ang sitwasyon for many women, lalo na sa trabaho, social safety nets, at even sa paggamit ng feminist ideas for profits. In terms naman po sa handmaiden critic, main idea dito is the feminines in some cases has become a handmaiden po of neoliberalism. Ibig sabihin, ginagamit ng corporation and elites ang feminist language para i-promote ang policy na hindi naman lahat nakakabenepisyo. Benepisyo po. For example po, words like empowerment and choice are used to make it seem like ano po, women are winning. Pero ang totoo, only a small group of privileged women benefits. Sa shift from collective to individuals naman po, da- dati feminines was about solidarity and collective action. Pero ngayon, dahil sa neoliberalism, mas nakafocus na sa individual success para parang basta ikaw maka-survive, okay na. The problem is this mindset ignores the bigger systemic issue that keep the equality alive. Intersectional analysis naman po. The international fairness is highlight that hindi pantay-pantay ang epekto ng neoliberalism sa lahat ng babae. Katulad po ng disproportionate impact. Women from marginalized groups tulad ng women of color, immigrant women, at working class women. Mas malaki ang suffering. For example po, kapag nagbawas ng government funding sa healthcare or social service, sila ang pinaka-apektado kasi sila ang nakadepende dito. Like, sa linking struggles naman po, feminists argue that gender justice and environmental justice o kaya intersectional movements fights not only for equal pay and reproductive rights, but also for labor protection and racial justice and climate sustainability. So sa advocating for public goods naman po, so feminines are pushing for the return of a strong state support in public service. So valuing care work. Under the neoliberalism, governments cut the spending on healthcare, children care, and elder care. Ang resulta, babae ang madalas nagbabayad ng presyo kasi sila yung expected na mag-provide ng unpaid na bills na care work at home. So, feminists push for policies that recognize care work as a shared collective responsibility, not just a woman's job. Challenging austerity feminists. So dito naman po is many feminists rejected austerity policy, yung pagbabawas ng government spending on public service. They argue that the state should invest more in social safety nets, healthcare, education, and labor protection para hindi lagi ang babae ang unang maapektuhan sa economic crisis. Intersectional analysis naman po. The international fairness is highlight that hindi pantay-pantay ang epekto ng neoliberalism sa lahat ng babae. Katulad po ng disproportionate impact. Women from marginalized groups tulad ng women of color, immigrant women, at working class women. Mas malaki ang suffering. For example po, kapag nagbawas ng government funding sa healthcare or social service, sila ang pinaka-apektado kasi sila ang nakadepende dito. Like, sa linking struggles naman po, feminists argue that gender justice and environmental justice o kaya intersectional movements fights not only for equal pay and reproductive rights, but also for labor protection and racial justice and climate sustainability. So to summarize, neoliberalism says it empowers women, pero in reality, mas nagiging unfair ang system sa sa feminist response in their key ways naman po. Sa handmaiden critic is resisting the co-optation of feminist language. And number two is intersectional analysis, which is showing na iba-iba ang impact depending on race, class, and identity ng isang babae. And the pangatlo is return to public goods, pushing the state to invest in healthcare, children care, and protection for worker. In short, feminists want real empowerment, not just for a woman actually, but for everyone.